Welcome back to the Owner Seat podcast. Every operator in fitness and wellness is being told the same thing right now. Add recovery, add longevity, add the next modality. Almost nobody tells them how to make the math work. My guest today lives at exactly that intersection where a brand new technology has to turn into a real business an operator can actually run. Elena Kormilina is the head of product strategy and commercialization at RoboSculptor. Oh my goodness, I love this brand. The Dubai-based company building AI-powered robotic body therapy for wellness businesses. Her craft is translation, taking complex health tech and turning it into something operators, investors, and customers actually understand and adopt. Before RoboSculptor, she spent a decade at Profile Products, growing a region from $50,000 to, listen to this, $1.7 million in building distributor networks across Eastern Europe and Central Asia, opening new markets like Turkey and Mongolia. She also holds an MBA in finance, which matters here because she thinks about a product the way a CFO thinks about a P&L, my favorite. At RoboSculptor, Elena helped reposition the product, rebuild the narrative, and move it from a niche aesthetics tool to a recovery and wellness platform built for gyms, hotels, spas, recovery centers, and longevity clinics. The technology evolves the vibro compression method, which we'll talk about it, behind the Beautylizer into a full body AI-driven system that scans the body and selects the protocol. What makes this the real owner seat conversation that you want to chat about is that Elena is not a hype person. She talks openly about the operator's unit economics, about where this works, where it doesn't, and where we're trying to improve, and about the discipline of proving one location before you scale. I'm so excited. Elena, welcome to the Owner Seat podcast.
Thank you so much, Albert. Very happy to be here. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for pumping me up.
Yeah,
I'm
no, we're ready
thrilled.
to rock.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm so excited. I mentioned Profile Products. So you spent over a decade growing a region, as I mentioned, $50,000 to kick it off. You come in almost $2 million building that distributor network across, Eastern Europe, Central Asia. We talked Turkey, Mongolia. What did it teach you about the gap between a product that's technically great and one that you could actually sell and scale?
A couple of things actually that wasn't a one lesson only. I think one was that a great product is just a start, it's just the beginning. And in order to even if the product is technically strong, we tend, as people who are developing the products, we tend to fall in love with the features. And we're so close to the product that we get excited and we think, of course, the market will understand it. Of course, the people will buy it. Of course, everybody's going to get it. And then the market doesn't reciprocate because, well, this isn't really clear to them. So I learned that at Profile that not only you need to translate those complex ideas to the customers, but you need to speak their language because they don't think about the product. They think about the problem that this product solves for them. What does it matter to them? How does it solve their pains? And also, not only that, but you have to think about every player in your playbook. How does the distributor make money? How does the end customer feel about the result that you're going to get them? And what support does the market needs in order to adopt it? So that taking it, a great product doesn't sell itself. So that was, I guess, lesson number one. And lesson number two, Profile Products was a predominantly U.S. market-based company. Most of the sales came from the Northern American territories. And so to not only to learn, but to convey, and I keep it at the back of my head all the time, that every region has its own logic. It sounds like, your MBA cliche when you go to different business lessons. Everybody says that, but what I found that it does not translate into the corporate logic. We just don't think that way. And so the what works in one country is not necessarily going to work in other country. And that happens over and over and over again. And we just had a recent conversation myself when I gave an example of the use case in the
Yeah.
US, and my UAE counterpart said, well, okay, don't give me an example about, United States because this is UAE. It's completely
Yeah.
different. And I was like, okay,
It's
here
so
we
true.
go again. Yeah, it's very obvious. So the lesson is technical quality definitely matters, but also commercial readiness and market readiness is a
Yeah.
different discipline. So you need all of those things and all those pieces of the puzzle to fall in place: the positioning, the education, the partners, the economics, in order for the great product to scale.
So good.
So I think that scaling only works when the whole model around the product starts working.
So let's talk about that because, and we'll get into RoboSculptor a little bit, which I'm excited to chat about. But there's a lot of people that watch this show that really enjoy hearing about best practice around unit economics, scaling, and in many cases, it's about brick and mortar franchise systems. There's a lot of franchisees that listen, but we get a lot of people that either are looking to start a business to sell product or are currently selling a novel product, and you have a lot of familiarity with that, right? So when we talk about a product that's novel, how do you make sure you balance the educating the market about what this is and then still driving sales, right? I mean, cash flow is the name of the game. How do you do that without overselling it and not letting that education kind of fall by the wayside? How do you make sure you balance that?
I think this is a very important question, especially when it comes to new technology. And it's a tough one for me because, number one, I come from a lean, small team. We do not wear one hat. We have to
Mm,
have multiple hats, and we have to wear multiple hats. And I'm also not a fan of fake it till you make it. So this is where the operator operational logic comes in conflict with the marketing mentality.
yeah,
Marketing people get hyped up and excited, and this is their job to hype the product up. For me, it's important to help people understand and what the product does, where it fits, what problem it solves, where it works, and where it doesn't work.
uh,
And what we try to do when we talk to people is stay true and not make promises that are obviously we cannot keep.
right,
Definitely, when you talk about the product and you promote the product, you start it somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So you give this basic revenue that the operator can make. And I think that the great thing about that is the confrontation is a very good thing. So I love when operators come back to us and say, well, your numbers are ridiculous.
mm,
Let's look at them, because we don't go out there throwing it as a bait. No, we've run our numbers based on the experience that we have. But with the new product, you have to be ready to sharpen your pencil over and over and over again,
right,
because every use case at the beginning is going to be unique. And it's when you build a number of those cases, you start seeing patterns, repeatability. That's when you start scaling. So I think that overselling is a little dangerous because you need more than hype with an innovative product. The hype is going to get your attention, but building trust when operators understand and they truly buy into those numbers and the logic is going to give you adoption. And I think this is much more important. Actually, it
absolutely,
was at Profile, our CEO always had a saying, this is not the first sale that counts, it's the 100th after that.
yeah,
So you try to build this trust with the operators when you care about their P&L and you are very honest and you're willing to say, I don't see it working with what you described to me. And that's
so
okay. And
good,
trying to walk away with those things. Because I think with at the beginning of selling an innovative product, having it placed when it doesn't work does more damage than good. So I think that maybe this is my finance side, but I don't like magic numbers. I like when there is something that we can actually check together with the operator and sometimes we have to make an educated guess, but it has
sure.
to be an educated guess. It has to be based in something in assumptions in the number of in the traffic in that particular location or the price point, something that allows us to build that model.
Yeah, I had a great leader. Actually, he runs all of Lifetime Athletic, Bahram Akradi, and he used to tell me, Albert, there's two different decisions you have to make. There's one where it doesn't need to be mathematically precise. You just need to move fast. And as you go through it, iterate, fix the math, find out and iterate. Then there's the decisions that, look, you cannot make a mistake. This has to be so mathematically precise, no room for error. And so I've made decisions that way. It's like, okay, is this one where I can just run and we'll figure it out? Or is this slow down? We need to get the math right. And I love your finance background. And I'd imagine with this product, RoboSculptor, let's call it capital heavy, right? It's a capital heavy
It
product.
is. Yeah.
So how, from an education aspect, unit economics, as you're in these conversations with investors, because many that listen to this are wanting to be in conversations and trying to figure out what do those conversations sound like, what should they be prepping to, they're currently in them or have been. How has that experience been for you?
I think again, wearing those multiple hats help in respect that I look at it from a different perspective. I can look at it from and we do play this game. Okay, how to make it work so that the end user, it's a B2C, B2B2C product, right? So we
Sure.
have to make the end user happy and deliver them the product that is economically viable for them and it's affordable. And then we need to make sure the operator has their margins. And then when we're talking to investors, we also need to demonstrate our own margins. So it's a very difficult thing
Yeah.
to split this orange
Sure.
into so many pieces so that
Right.
everybody has an interest and skin in the game, but also benefits from participating. And it's a challenge. It's going back and working on the numbers over and over again. But I think primarily it's positioning the product not only as an innovation, but as an economical tool. What we do is we look at different ownership models. We've looked at the rental model. We've looked at outright
Mhm.
purchase. We've looked at building a network of operators. So we're playing around with all those ways to commercialize the product in order
Sure.
to find the one that works at a certain period of time. But I think the key here is for the operators not only to like the product, obviously they need to like it, but also to believe in the customer's experience and to see at the end of the day, is it gonna fit into my business model? Is it gonna work? What price do I charge? How much staff time is required? Can I spare an assistant who can help, or do I need to budget a certain time? So I think that looking from that, and when I go back to our R&D team, we do have these discussions. Well, do you
Mhm.
really need the product to be completely independent and not depend on the operator? Well, let's look at the numbers. And luckily, we have a great team and they go, well, yeah, you're right. It makes sense for the operator. So we're going to move it, up the product backlog so that the product is more independent. So I think that helps tremendously. Sometimes I ask the uncomfortable questions, getting the pencil out.
Love it.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
that's
look at the
good.
numbers.
We
But
need
I
to.
think that it's something that if you don't do it, then you have to pay the price later on. So I think
Exactly.
that the earlier you find and hear the feedback from the operators, this is what works, this is what doesn't work. And the earlier the company can make decisions based on this information, the better it is in the long run.
Yeah. So walk us through the details. I'm excited. I love your beautiful background there. We can see the product, RoboSculptor. I mean, come on, is there a better name? That is an amazing name. Love your
Thank you.
branding. Walk us through the details. You have a lot of people out here that run studios, run multi-unit platforms. And so I want them to hear about this because as we're moving into wellness and recovery, I don't think this is something that people have thought about. They don't necessarily know enough about this. So I'm excited for you to share.
Awesome. So RoboSculptor doesn't it's not the idea, it's the idea that was born out of a different device. And
Mhm.
for people who see my screen, all of our product line is presented here. So we come from the aesthetic background. We are a manufacturer. We developed the product, which is called Purelizer, which is a handheld device based on vibro-compression by spheres. And it's a very long name to pronounce, but basically this is a tool that the therapist takes, holds the maniple, and applies on the person's body. And I am very, very careful not to call it a massage device because it gives a little bit of a false impression.
Mhm.
It's the effect of this technology, the vibro compression technology, is so different from anything that you've experienced. We
Mhm.
never tried to mimic the hands of the therapist, but what we had is a Beautylizer is the device that was loved. Clients love it. I've heard people say our models at the trade shows say, oh my goodness, this is so addictive. I want to
Yeah.
feel this. Whatever this is, I want to just continue feeling it. But
Right.
it's basically something that works for body contouring, lymphatic drainage, but
Mm.
unlike so many aesthetic tools, it does not have negative adverse effect on your health and body. On the contrary, it stimulates blood circulation, it stimulates lymphatic drainage, promotes shaping, and promotes improvements in overall health. So that's such a rare thing in aesthetics. And we wanted, because we came to the markets where the cost of the labor was extremely high, we understood that the numbers and the unit economy for this device probably will have a harder time to justify itself. It was before
Mhm.
the longevity boom. So
Right.
it was more, anti-cellulite body contouring, and this market is so saturated. So we decided to make this technology, vibro-compression technology, independent, and that's how we started building RoboSculptor. So originally, what we did is we put robotic arm on one of our devices, and we very, very quickly realized that this is not as simple as it looks and as it sounds. So
Mhm.
RoboSculptor started, we actually decided the name came out pretty much very early on. So it's basically sculpting your body, making sure that your best sort of shape and form is revealed. And the rubber sculptor started taking the technology and shape very early on. We've
Wow.
introduced the lidar cameras that scan and build the 3D image of your body, so
Wow.
that when you move, the device tracks and adjusts the trajectory so that it stays properly on track. We also have our proprietary system of making sure those points are mapped correctly. So precision is a big thing. But also the vibro compression tool, this roller that rotates. It's just the way it activates the receptors in our skin, and the way it causes the neuromuscular response is fantastic. I love the technology. I'm
My
very,
goodness,
very
I need it.
excited,
I
and I'm a
need it
big
in my
fan of
life.
it.
I
So
need
I,
it.
I like doing the treatment. I like feeling, and I like explaining to people what the treatment is. And it's so, so neat, because when we go and when people come in and try the treatment and we walk through it, what is it that they're going to experience? Because I don't want them to say, well, I'm going to have a massage and then leave disappointed. No, you're going to
Right.
have the treatment. Please keep an open mind about it. And when they get up and they say, oh my goodness, it's amazing because I feel so much lighter. It's
So good.
energetic. So the way it affects our body is amazing. And this is what we started building in 2000. Our first prototype was ready in 2022 early. So Dubai Derma 2022, we introduced it. And then we started a long journey that we're still on today of going from this primarily aesthetic device to
Mhm.
where it is right now, a recovery tool that can be very scalable, and that's positioned for the operators to adapt and to utilize without adding the labor. So this was a
Yeah.
journey from Beautylizer to RoboSculptor, and this product now I feel is positioned correctly. So it's now no longer a niche product, because with aesthetics, it's a great market and body treatments are extremely important. But when you look at a broader opportunity, recovery and wellness is where this repeatability and continuous use is important. So it's a
Yeah.
much stronger and more repeatable story. So this is how
I
we
love I love the tech.
developed that.
I love the proprietary IP that you're saying you have, right? The positioning, you're so spot on. This is amazing. And one thing that comes up, right, whenever I talk about anything AI or any type of tech like this, people think, "Oh, great. So you're going to remove the therapist, you're going to remove the human in the loop." And there's brands that are trying to do something like this, not even close to RoboSculptor. And that's how they're marketing this, that it's just the machine. And I don't think that's going well. And what I love about what you all are doing is you don't say that. you're not trying to replace the great therapist. And there's a lot of power in that. I think not only for the operator, but for the end user that's getting the experience. They enjoy the education and the human in the loop. Can you walk us through that? RoboSculptor is far different when it comes to that, right? You're not trying to just go all AI, and you're not anti-AI, but you're the tech and the amazing person behind the tools and all of that.
Right. Number one, RoboSculptor is built on the device-based treatment, right? So Butilizer is not a manual. It's a manual treatment in terms of the therapist is holding the maniple, but what touches the body of the person is a tool, and the
Right.
tool creates the effect. And the tool is responsible for the consistency. And I think that's what we try to replicate. We never positioned RoboSculptor as machine versus human. I just don't think this is right. I'm a massage lover. My
Mm.
mom used to be a massage therapist, and
Oh, okay.
I don't think that the you can replace that. I think it's very difficult to replace the healing power of the human touch.
Mm.
This is not about that. It's about making the treatment that's effective available to you when you need it without being dependent on the person being present at the location, without being dependent strictly on the operating hours. And so we played around with a lot of things. One of them was, we can develop different unique protocols when RoboSculptor takes care of the routine actions, and then there is a therapist or a skilled professional who, finishes and provides the, uh, finished touches and sort
Yeah.
of does what people do best. So it was never to replace. And I really don't understand when people say that. I usually give very simple analogies like, well, if you have a dishwasher, it doesn't mean that you cannot do dishes by hand. If you have someone coming and cleaning the house, it doesn't mean that robot vacuum cleaner doesn't make sense for them. Those technologies can coexist. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I like about the technology is, I know how difficult it is to find your therapist, how difficult it is to find someone who feels your body and who can really, work on that. And I also know that we've created the world with so much stress, but the tools for recovery for our bodies are limited. And so for me, RoboSculptor is about having an opportunity to get the body treatment that's gonna work and it's gonna be effective, even if the therapist is not there. And I
Right.
think as we look at the market and the growth with which the labor market grows, a lot of therapists left the profession after COVID,
Yeah.
we can definitely see that there is a gap, and this gap is growing.
Yeah.
And so we've now have a lot of things on demand. We have Netflix. We don't go to movies. But we
Um,
still do. We still love going to the movies, but we also
oh,
want
I love
to
movies.
have, and watch TV at the comfort of our house. I think RoboSculptor is about that. You come in, you want to have the treatment, it's there. You don't need
Yeah.
to call, you don't need to ask. And also, the big thing is the consistency. I think that
Mm.
what we found in different markets is that, and the feedback that we hear from people is personalization and individual massage is important, but
Yeah.
people want to come in and they want to have the same treatment and feel the same. And so with therapists, different therapists have different hands, different techniques. So
So
you're
true.
not guaranteed the type of
Mm.
treatment you're going to have.
It's a good
RoboSculptor is never
point.
going to replace a skilled, experienced masseuse. Never.
Mm.
But what if this great experienced masseuse is not available in your location? Well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about this. Let's pivot into, and I'm gonna bring something up, and let me say it. Okay. So, because I know a lot of people out there, they heard about the escape situation, right? We've seen all the posts not going so well. And I think it's because the unit economics weren't there, the spend, the undisciplined spend. Sorry, I'm just gonna call it what it is out there. I'm gonna get so much hate for this. But it is true. One thing, and I've learned some more details. One thing that I love about RoboSculptor is how disciplined, and you could hear it as you explain it, how methodical this is, and how much thought is being put into the math and the numbers. And then I went onto your website. We did a lot of research on the company, and I love how you're very plain, very transparent is what I mean. Very direct about it is you can earn up to, as an operator, think of this in your studio, earn up to $200,000, a year on a 60% usage base. And so I wanted to chat about the details, right? Because I know you're in the details. If you're a gym out there, hotel owner, spa owner, you want to listen to this, especially if you're doing the math on this. Elena, can you walk us through utilization and pricing? Like, how does it all work?
Yeah. So I want to preface by saying that whatever numbers we provide, this is a model, and I said that we've put thought into that, and it's not a number that we just came up with. We
That's right.
came up with it for a reason, but we
Mhm.
want operators to challenge us on that again
I
because we
love
want
that.
the technology to work for them. So it's not a guarantee, and I think that this distinction matters. We try to again we've developed and we changed our commercial model, and we came back to it and we looked at it over and over and over again, and probably it will continue evolving as the market evolved, because when we
Mhm.
started there was virtually almost no technology. Nobody heard about other companies. We certainly didn't. We only heard about Escape and about Capsix when they started getting financing and getting out there, on the market. But we felt like, oh my goodness, we're developing this something that's completely unique. And it still
Right.
is because of the
It
difference
is.
in technology, obviously. But the market is evolving, and there are other players who are entering the market. I think it's gonna go back to the transparency with the operators and how the numbers work. With any robotic device, what's gonna play into picture? The two biggest things are your pricing and your traffic. If you are a studio with 300 active members, let's say, and 5 of them adopt some sort of robotic recovery, well, this is your potentially 15 people, 15 visitors a day.
Mhm.
Okay, so when you have the traffic, when you have the numbers, can you convert them? Well, that's a different question. That's where building demand and growing the demand, that's where the promotional and marketing tools start to work. Robotics solve the availability, it doesn't solve the demand problem. So if the demand isn't there, if you do not see people coming and asking for recovery sessions, then
Mhm.
obviously this is not going to be the right solution. But
Right.
if there is a demand, then the demand can grow. So the big factor is the traffic and the footfall. You have to have the numbers for the robot to work. If you have one person going for the treatment, maybe a therapist or no solution, maybe it's okay for those people to go and seek for recovery elsewhere, and they do
Mhm.
that. But
Sure.
when you have unutilized space in your fitness studio, wellness studio, when you have a room that stays empty because
Mhm.
you cannot find a therapist, and you see your members who, would only go to like during the evening peak hours, but they have time during the weekends and they don't come to the gym because they go to the spa to get this type of treatment, there is your missed opportunity. And
Yeah,
then
they're
the
spending the
second
money.
one, yeah, and the second one is obviously pricing. If
Mhm.
you have a high profile customers who are willing to pay premium for the service, you don't need a whole lot of them. The numbers are going to work. So you're going to be profitable at 5 sessions a day. But if you offer and you get the numbers and you have 20 sessions a day, your price point can be much lower. But if you have only one or two, this is not a commercial model. Then
Right.
your drive as an operator is something else. And we've seen companies like that. They say, okay, we're never going to sell it by the session because this is not our model. We have the very high priced membership and we want to offer our members the best that they can have.
Sure.
Well,
Value
okay,
add. Yeah.
then this is a completely different story because they sell based on value, they sell based on differentiation, they sell the uniqueness of the treatment,
Well,
and
now I'm
it's
thinking
also like,
retention, right?
yeah,
Retention of my
exactly.
membership dues. That's the way I
Retention
would
and
mathematically
acquisition
do it.
is exactly retention and acquisition as well. You have the person on the tour who is walking your facility, and you say, oh, and look, and we have this recovery session, we have this technology and this
No one
modalities,
has it.
and we
No
have
one else has it.
RoboSculptor. Yeah. So
So
it's a
cool.
completely different story. So I think that what we want the operators to buy. I would never recommend operator to buy an headline number, obviously. Let's
Mm,
look at the scenarios. And if the conservative scenario doesn't work, then maybe we need to look at that again, and maybe this is not the right fit. So I think that, and I don't see a lot of, from clients that we've talked with and the networks and the chains that we've discussed, I don't see a lot of this hype. I think they're very, very aware, and they want to, because they, some of them had negative experience with different
mhm,
modalities that they brought
mhm,
in, and they couldn't sell it. They spend the money on the capex heavy equipment, it
mhm.
be it cryo or something else, and there is just simply not demand for it. So I think that here we need to evaluate how much traffic we can convert into the specific utilization of the tool. And then utilization, if there is a demand, is something that we can grow. And that's where the revenue is going to really, really shine and come in.
So you made me think about two things. Number one, from a traffic, so of course I can only imagine initial impression. This is new. This is shiny. Let me get on it. Great experience. How would you recommend the operators focus on retention, meaning repeat visits? Like, how do we get that person who loved it to keep coming back to do it?
Different ways to look at that. And I agree with you. We sometimes get the wow factor.
Hmm.
Wow, that felt great.
Yeah,
But this
exactly.
isn't what gets us excited. And this is definitely what gets operators excited, because, one time's a chance, two times coincidence, three times a pattern, and
Yeah.
four times a
And
system.
I'm
So
thinking
we
about it
want.
too, like on a science protocol based on the
Mhm.
lymphatic drainage. Like, how many times, like how often per week or per month, in order for you to really get like almost like a medical improvements, right? Like, how do you? Is there
we
something there?
Well, we try to stay clear of the medical
Yeah,
claims,
yeah.
just because this isn't, Butilizer works in a little different way, because
Mhm,
with Butilizer we pump the lymph nodes, we do the frontal surface as well. RoboSculptor does the back surface right now, so we don't do abdominal area, we don't do
mm,
the uh, upper the anterior surface,
yeah.
which, spoiler alert, we're working on, and it's going to
Yes.
come out very,
Awesome.
very, very soon, but we're not there yet. So I don't want to get into that. However, you get the way the technology works. There are two things. Number one, you feel lighter. And sometimes after you get the treatment, you kind of feel sluggish. And
Mm,
what we hear over and over again, that this is the treatment that doesn't give you the sluggish kind of like, oh, I'm done for the day sensation. Because it stimulates receptors, it delivers all of those benefits, but it also sort of energizes and has this, reviving effect. And I've
mhm.
heard one client saying, you know what, I would definitely go for it before a corporate meeting. And I sort of laughed. It's like, yeah, that's great when you have the benefit of having the device and you can
Exactly.
do that
Yeah.
in your lap. But no, you have the feeling of lighter legs right away. In order for to change the system, there are so many factors that come into, definitely your lifestyle. This is not a magic pill. And with Butilizer, we never try to sell the magic pill. And with RoboSculptor, we try to stay clear of that. We don't promise magic. We promise that this is an effect that you're going to feel. And if you do it consistently, you're going to see noticeable changes in your skin tone. You're going to feel the effect. Your muscles relax after one session. You definitely feel the pressure points soften up if you have next a series of sessions, but it works after the first session. And I think that what is responsible for this repeatability that
Right.
we're talking about. Our NPS is 66%. It means that people would highly recommend that. And that's great. And that's what we love to hear. But it also depends on the expectations. So that's
Right.
why I don't want the operators to overpromise and oversell this as something that, that's just going to, completely relieve your pain points
You're
forever
healed.
and ever. Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, because then the person is disappointed.
Sure.
So trying to position it correctly, and this is our job as well, in order to explain the technology well and how it works, so that it's clear for the client, for the customers. And this is what we are working on, developing the protocols and the playbook for the operators, how to sell this
Excellent.
treatment, what to tell and what to promise and what not to promise, because I think it's extremely important. One disappointed customer is going to take away more. So
Yeah.
I think that the technology works, and it's our responsibility and operators' responsibility to position it correctly so that the clients can feel it, understand, and have very clear expectations of the treatment.
Amazing.
And also,
Well,
obviously, there are different tools in order to encourage the repeated visits, such as packages.
mm,
Obviously, a membership-based pricing when you
yeah.
pay a certain fee and then you have access to, say, 8 or 10 sessions. Those are different tools that would encourage repeated visits.
So we mentioned Dubai, we mentioned some other countries, right? You're expanding from the UAE into the United States. I'm really excited about this. You're recently in Las Vegas. You had the Four Seasons pop up, which went very well. Walk me through this US expansion. What are the plans? A lot of my listeners are here in the US. And so walk us through whether it's, is it a different pricing model? Maybe some of the partnerships that you're if you don't if you can't, no need to say the names, but more so like where is this entering? Is it the longevity? Is it wellness? Is it recovery? Is it fitness? Is it all of the above? Walk us through what this expansion looks like.
This is exciting because I went to school in the U.S. I lived in the U.S. Love coming back. So to me, this
Amazing.
just yeah, it's like welcome home.
Yeah.
So the US is very exciting market, but it's also a very demanding market.
Hmm.
And there are ups, there are definitely benefits, and there are also some, I wouldn't say there are cons, but there are definitely things to take seriously. The labor costs are very high, which makes automation very attractive and the story very
Right.
relevant. And we heard that over and over again. And we hear the types of businesses that I would not probably associate with recovery starting to look into recovery. So operators are under pressure to add new revenue streams, to improve retention, especially in the fitness area, and to differentiate. And obviously, new products such as robotic technology allows to add that without adding the labor cost. But
Mm,
US operators also ask very practical question. How does it fit into a staffing model? What's the liability? What's the training process? How do I price it? What kind of packages do I offer? How do I sell it to members? What kind of utilization do I need to break even? Obviously, what happens if something breaks? And all those questions are very, very valid. So the standard of proof in the US market is higher. So, and the model also has to be adapted by the segment, because what's going to work in a luxury hotel is not going to work at a recovering franchise or
right.
a premium gym or a longevity clinic. So the packages are not going to be built in the same way. So partnerships here become very, very important. And we've had a number of very promising conversations with some of the partners that are at early stages, and I
Yeah,
would not want to disclose that.
for sure.
But I think that for us, finding the right partners early on, right now, is critically important, and finding the operators who understand the innovation. For sure, they need to be open-minded about that, but also have discipline to measure performance and to understand that this is not going to happen magically. We need to grow the demand, we need to build the demand, and we need to support the demand. So I think for us, this is the way that we look at the US market. This is why we sort of tested the waters last year. We see now those seeds starting to grow, and we're very, very excited about that. But this is not the market to screw up.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, that's why we
Mhm.
try to take a very measured approach in order to make sure we do the right thing.
I love it. So good. Well, I'm so excited, like you, about RoboSculptor in the US, and I really appreciate how thorough you were during this conversation, and just sharing us a little bit behind the scenes of how you think about it from the actual inventor, the product journey, all of it, all of the different intricacies as you think about not only the consumer and end user, but the operator as well. So thank you for this. For those that want to learn more about RoboSculptor, Elena, as well as connect with you, how can they reach out to you?
I think LinkedIn would be the best. I appreciate people reaching out. I love growing the network. I enjoy the conversations. I enjoy running the numbers. So let's crunch some numbers
I
together.
love it.
I will definitely appreciate this opportunity. And Albert, it's such a pleasure to talk to you. You have a fantastic aura. You
Oh,
just
thank you.
thank you so much for the questions and giving us the opportunity and the platform to talk about our product. We love it and we hope other people will too.
So good. I know they will. They definitely will. And we talked a lot about the math and unit economics for any fitness, wellness, or longevity operator out there, franchisor, franchisee who's looking for that CFO level clarity, financial modeling, capital raise prep, private equity readiness, all of it, right? Please connect with me as well on LinkedIn and or go to my website, strategointel.com. And yeah, so excited. This has been another episode of the Owner Seat Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Albert Ramos. And if this is your first time tuning in, what a treat that you get to learn about RoboSculptor for the first time. And all my episodes drop every Monday and Friday at 8 a.m. Central. Elena, thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Everybody,
Have a good
thank you.
one.